Let us read from 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 to 14. Now when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven by a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. And Elijah said to Elisha, "Please stay here, for the Lord has sent me as far as Bethel." But Elisha said, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets who were in Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, "Do you know that today the Lord will take away your master from over you?" And he said, "Yes, I know it. Keep quiet." Elijah said to him, "Elisha, please stay here, for the Lord has sent me to Jericho." But he said, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they came to Jericho. The sons of the prophets who were at Jericho drew near to Elisha and said to him, "Do you know that today the Lord will take away your master from over you?" And he answered, "Yes, I know it. Keep quiet." Then Elijah said to him, "Please stay here, for the Lord has sent me to the Jordan." And he said, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So the two of them went on. 50 men of the sons of the prophets also went and stood at some distance from them, as they both were standing by the Jordan. Then Elijah took his cloak and rolled it up and struck the water, and the water was parted to the one side and to the other, till the two of them could go over on dry ground. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." And Elisha said, "Please let there be a double portion of your spirit on me." And he said, "You have asked a hard thing, yet if you see me as I am being taken from you, it shall be so for you. But if you do not see me, it shall not be so." And as they still went on and talked, behold, chariots of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." And he saw him no more. Then he took hold of his own clothes and tore them into 2 pieces. And he took up the cloak of Elijah that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. Then he took the cloak of Elijah that had fallen from him and struck the water, saying, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" And when he had struck the water was parted to the one side and to the other, and Elisha went over. The story of Elijah and Elisha offers a profound lesson in spiritual persistence, highlighting the blessings that come from following God wholeheartedly and refusing to give up. In this chapter, Elijah, the great prophet, is about to be taken up by God. This event was not being hidden. Other prophets and even Elisha himself are aware that Elijah's departure is imminent. Elijah informs Elisha that the Lord has sent him to specific locations, and they set out on a series of visits. Elisha's response to each group of the prophets is, "Yes, I know it, keep quiet." Sometimes knowing that God is at work is more important than engaging in needless talk. During these final journeys, Elijah visits Gilgal, Bethel, Jericho, and the Jordan River. Each place holds a special significance in Israel's history, reminding Elisha of God's faithfulness, covenant, and promises. In Joshua 4, after Israel miraculously crossed over the Jordan River, they set up 12 stones at Gilgal as a memorial to God's intervention. Gilgal became a place of covenant renewal, where the Israelites circumcised the new generation and celebrated the Passover for the first time in the Promised Land. It marked the end of their wilderness journey and the beginning of life in Canaan. For Elisha, Gilgal served as a reminder of God's unchanging faithfulness and the importance of staying true to his covenant. The next place, Bethel, is where Jacob, fleeing from Esau, had a life-altering encounter with God. In Genesis 28, he dreamed of a ladder stretching to heaven with angels ascending and descending. God promised Jacob that he would give him the land, bless his descendants, and protect him. Jacob named the place Bethel, meaning house of God, and made a vow to serve God. For Elisha, Bethel symbolized a place where God meets his people, and it reminded him of the importance of keeping his heart open to divine encounters. Jericho represents Israel's first victory in Canaan. The walls of Jericho fell not by Israel's military might, but by their faith and obedience in marching around the city as God had instructed. It was a vivid reminder that victories come through God's power, not human effort. Jericho showed Elisha that persistence in following God's commands leads to victories beyond human capability. The Jordan River was Israel's final barrier before entering the Promised Land. God parted the river, allowing them to cross on dry ground, affirming his presence with Joshua as he had been with Moses. For Elisha, the Jordan symbolized crossing into a new season, a reminder that God leads his people and sets boundaries for their lives. This boundary crossing would soon take on personal significance as he took up Elijah's mantle. As they journeyed together, it was as if God was leading Elisha through a memory lane of Israel's history, reminding him of his covenant, his ability to communicate with his people, his power to give victory, and his boundaries for their lives. Each stop underscored the faithfulness of God and the importance of following him persistently. Elijah's determination to stay with Elijah until the end reflects his understanding of the importance of spiritual persistence. Years earlier, when Elijah had cast his cloak over him, Elisha left his father's oxen and ran after Elijah, leaving his old life behind. Elisha was not simply a follower. He had committed his life entirely to serving God. Throughout his time with Elijah, he performed menial tasks such as pouring water on Elijah's hands, as we read in 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 11. Yet he never wavered in his commitment. In this parting scene, Elisha's persistence shines. When Elijah repeatedly says, "Please stay here, for the Lord has sent me to so-and-so place," Elisha replies each time, "As surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, I will not leave you." Elisha's unrelenting devotion is reminiscent of other biblical figures who sought God's blessings with desperation and persistence. Jacob, for example, wrestled with the angel of the Lord and refused to let go until he was blessed. The Canaanite woman, the Bartimaeus, the blind beggar, and Hannah's heartfelt prayers for a son all demonstrate how persistent faith often results in great blessings. When they reach the Jordan River, Elijah gives Elisha a remarkable opportunity. "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." Elisha boldly requests a double portion of Elijah's spirit, a request not for personal gain, but to continue God's work in Israel. Aware of Israel's spiritual decline, he knew that the prophetic mantle required special anointing to lead the people back to God. Elisha's request was made in alignment with God's will and purpose, and not for self-exaltation. Elisha's request was granted, And he went on to perform twice as many miracles as Elijah, leading Israel through some of their darkest times of apostasy and decline. Like Solomon, who asked for wisdom to govern God's people, Elisha's heart was set on fulfilling his calling for the sake of others, not himself. After Elijah is taken up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elisha is left alone, but not without hope. He picks up Elijah's cloak, symbolizing the transfer of prophetic authority. Standing by the Jordan, he strikes the water, crying, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" His question underscores a powerful truth. Though Elijah is gone, the God of Elijah remains. Elisha is not disheartened. He is ready to continue God's work, confident in the presence of the Lord God who empowered his mentor. Elisha's ministry would indeed continue with miracles and signs, showing that God's work does not rely on one individual. When Moses died, God raised up Joshua. When Elijah was taken up, God raised up Elisha. This transition reminds us that no one is indispensable to God's mission, but that we each play a vital role while we serve him. Elisha's story is a reminder that spiritual persistence brings blessings and open doors to new opportunities. Like Elisha, we are called to persevere in our walk with God, even when challenges arise or when God's will seems unclear. Let us recognize the importance of following faithfully and boldly seeking God's presence and power. Let us remember God's faithfulness in the past and trust that God is with us even in transitions. Let us also remember that God's work continues beyond us. Elijah's departure shows us that God's purposes are greater than any one person. Spiritual persistence involves continuing and committing to our calling while recognizing that we are part of a larger unfolding story. God bless.